Caitlin Clark has responded to everything that has been occurring with Team USA, and it looked like she potentially could be getting benched again. God,
man, why are you talking at all? Why? Like, we don't even know how you got there. We don't even know how Stephanie White got there, man. We got to get into this. Stephanie White had an interview. Do you think she stood up for Caitlin Clark being froze out of the game by her teammates, being benched? Everybody else is starting, getting to start games but her.
Do you recall how intense, boisterous, and hard to ignore the rivalry days were?
Well aware that all of our fans here have been dying to see Caitlin Clark back on a floor, back on the court behind me. How would you evaluate how she's played so far and the ability to get to coach her here?
I thought she's been great. I think she really set the tone with her facilitating in game one. I mean, she's one of the greatest passers that the game has ever seen. And, now she's got so many weapons, on the floor and finding her way and, seeing what each player, what their strengths are, how to put them in positions to be successful.
That sounds more like the premise of a corporate comedy than a business plan. However, in international basketball, this same situation happened when Stephanie White decided to safeguard Team USA's fragile environment rather than unleash Caitlin Clark, the most explosive player on the court.
Caitlin with the steal and score. Now this was nice. This actually showed off Caitlin Clark's speed. She beat the defender, got hit in the head, no flagrant call, it is what it is. But read the passing lane well, jumped it, whoop, let me swoop in there. Coast to coast. A solid defensive play from Caitlin, and she turned on the Jets, showing you she's fast. She's sneaky, fast, but she's fast. Venom over here, I think the experiment Kara was talking about was how many different lineups can we use to disrupt Caitlin's flow.
You give it additional fuel. While the remainder of the operation adapts, you clear the way ahead and let it go at full speed. That is the fundamental reasoning behind the creation of contemporary dynasties in every sport.
Caitlin Clark has yet to start a game for Team USA, and the WNBA, to add more salt to injury, has not signed any proposal moving forward. Now, some photos was released from Team USA, and to me, it looked like Caitlin Clark potentially is not about to start another game. Now, I know some fans was like, they don't care if she started or not. Guys, Caitlin Clark has to start to get in rhythm early. That's how her game goes.
However, that rationale seemed to vanish into thin air somewhere between the bright lights of global competitiveness and the well-managed politics of seasoned hierarchies. Fans saw something that seemed rather weird during the most recent international event. While teammates alternately ran an offense that appeared to be as effective as a fax machine in a smartphone factory, Caitlin Clark, who is largely regarded as the most dynamic offensive creator on the court, spent portions of the game wandering off the ball. Playing like the best players, possession slowed to a crawl. Rather, the remark that emerged from the stage sounded eerily like a workplace harmony corporate training course. Stephanie White clarified that it takes sacrifice to represent Team USA. For the greater benefit, everyone must adapt. Due to the abundance of quality on the philosophy seems admirable at first glance. It even sounds sensible. However, the logic starts to falter like a folding chair at a family cookout when applied to a squad that has the tournament's most explosive playmaker.
One of the excuses that we were given as to why Caitlin Clark was left out of the Olympics, they insinuated that the Olympics were being reserved for veteran WNBA players who had more experience. But the main reason Caitlin Clark was excluded, it's because they were worried that she was going to steal the spotlight. They were worried that she would divert attention away from unknown players who wouldn't be properly identified by their parents. Jealous WNBA players who have been deluded into thinking that they are stars, they wanted the spotlight all to themselves.
The spotlight is introduced by younger players who have enormous fan bases. Coaches have to manage everything while attempting to keep everyone together. Theoretically, this is the point at which effective leadership becomes crucial. The leader determines the most effective route to success and makes sure that emotions never take precedence over strategic reality.
Angel Reese didn't pass Caitlin Clark the ball in a couple outlets, and then Caitlin came and checked in the game on one play and didn't really see Angel Reese, I don't think. So people have gone nuts and stirred stuff up, and that feeds into, some of the really wild conspiracies that folks have had about Stephanie White, like she's an agent of sabotage. She's been sent. Clearly that was at Stephanie White's direction, which is just wild when you really think about it. But Stephanie White, obviously, they're doing her job, as is Caitlin Clark.
However, the outcomes can resemble what spectators saw throughout those games when leadership starts putting harmony over optimization. A talented offensive that is oddly reluctant to use its most obvious advantage. This whole circumstance caused a very particular type of dread in Indiana Fever supporters. They watched Clark turn their squad into one of the most talked about teams in basketball throughout the previous season. The Fever were no longer a rebuilding project, but rather a major attraction in the league's quickly growing spotlight as arenas filled and TV viewership skyrocketed. When Stephanie White took over as head coach, a lot of fans thought the offense centered on Clark's genius. They saw a system in which other possibilities took center stage.
Stephanie White had to say about the Caitlin Clark benching that we all witnessed. You got Angel Reese trying to play point forward. The damn, what's her name? She from Philly, Phoenix Mercury, Copper. She don't pass the ball to nobody. It was a clown show what was going on. Let's see if Stephanie White's gonna defend her star player. We know she isn't. It's ridiculous.
She talked about developing chemistry among players who are still learning how to work together on the global stage, growing as a team, and adjusting to various competition levels. Those objectives all seem realistic. They actually sound just like what any coach would say when leading a talented but developing team. But when that developmental attitude collides with the fact that Caitlin Clark is more than just another talented player acclimating to high competition, conflict results. When she first started playing professional basketball, she was already breaking records, redefining offensive spacing, and attracting spectators who changed the league's financial situation. Timelines tend to accelerate significantly at that level of effect. Excitement is fueled by that imagination, but expectations are also raised additionally. Pressure from professional sport intentionally limited by the attempt to maintain equilibrium.
Stephanie White is in her ear going, you can't let her run the show. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to tell her what to do. Yep, Clark said, I'm good here. Yep. Absolutely. It's ugly basketball. Puerto Rico doesn't want to get embarrassed. They are physical. Reese getting blocked again. Yeah, it was rough out here today. It was a rough game. From an entertaining standpoint, it was rough. From an exciting standpoint, it was rough. Paige Becker's the leading scorer with 16 points. Paige, she played good. I can't, I'm not hating it. She's just not exciting.
Teams win by sharing opportunities in a courteous manner. They succeed by figuring out their unstoppable advantage and using it until their opponents are at a loss for solutions. One of the most interesting concerns surrounding the next season is whether Stephanie White will ultimately decide to follow that road with the Indiana Fever. Fans are forced to mentally relive those international events for the time being. Observing the plays in which Clark calmly awaited the ball and speculating about what may have occurred if, from the beginning, the offensive had focused on her inventiveness. If the season had just begun and Caitlin Clark had returned to the floor in a Fever jersey, perhaps the system would have blown up. The basketball community will be closely observing to deter defenses like a magician folding reality become the focal point of the offense at last? Or will the strategies still be guided by the idea of collective sacrifice? Because this straightforward reality is what sports fans comprehend more than any corporate management theory.
At half of what they wanted, Caitlin Clark was left off the team and she took the spotlight with her. Because without the great white hope on Team USA, no one watched the Olympics. One of the other concerns with having a star of this magnitude on a roster surrounded by anonymous faces and unrecognizable names on the backs of their jerseys, they were worried that everything would be overanalyzed. Every decision would be under a microscope.
The safest course of action is typically the most obvious one when you have a generational talent capable of altering a franchise's course. You hand them the ball, move aside, and let the show start. If there is one thing that basketball history has repeatedly taught us, it is that everything else seems a little out of date when the show starts. Because the game's entire geometry shifts when a generational playmaker takes charge of an offense. Defenders begin to lean in unexpected directions. Suddenly, passing lanes arise. When the appropriate individual is directing, teammates who previously had trouble finding clean shots suddenly appear to be offensive geniuses. The mayhem that is a player like Caitlin Clark's unseen might. She is worth more than just points. Before making a choice, each person respectfully raised their hand. Like a chess genius compelled to watch novices argue their initial moves, the one person who could solve the problem in 3 seconds stood patiently in the corner. Through their televisions, fans could almost...
I didn't feel like she rushed. I was concerned about her having some nerves. It had been a minute since she'd been on the floor, and I thought she was really good. I thought she was good on the defensive end of the floor as well. Game 2 was a little bit different in the way that Puerto Rico came out with their pressure and being a little bit more disruptive. And we've got to be able to play different styles. She's going to have to be able to see different things. And at the same time, I think she showed why she's elite. And she adjusts. She played with great pace. I thought she looked really good.
Another possession decelerated. A cautious dribble and a tentative entry pass started another set. The defense regrouped with ease, as though it had been granted an unplanned vacation from the one task it truly dreaded. Strategically speaking, the scenario was perplexing. Basketball coaches devote years to creating offensive schemes that are effective. Because the contemporary game rewards teams who move quickly and think imaginatively, they study shot charts, monitor spacing data, and become fixated on ball movement. However, the offense accrued a certain amount of recognition for their accomplishments throughout the years. However, her responsibilities as the Indiana Fever's head coach drastically change.
I've been waiting for. It's been 239 days, I believe I saw, since Caitlin Clark has been on a basketball court hitting a three-pointer. Today we were all witness. Caitlin Clark is back. She did not start for USA Basketball, for Team USA. The response to that is, yeah. And I knew it would be. I was like, oh boy. Yeah, boy. It's going to be something.
Maintaining historical balance within a national team is not the goal in Indianapolis. Building the most potent offense around the player who has already elevated the team to the forefront of basketball discourse is the goal. These two realities don't always coincide exactly. To keep the stars in harmony, one system demands a shared sacrifice. The alternative system essentially calls for a full-speed offensive revolution centered on the sport's most dangerous passer. Music, the Fever fan base, is fully aware of that distinction. Since Clark's arrival, they have observed a shift in the ambience of the arena. They have witnessed an increase in media coverage, a surge in ticket demand, and the team receives widespread notice wherever it travels. Because of this, she will soon be the mastermind behind a fast-paced system that will allow Caitlin Clark to reach her full potential as the rest of the team adjusts to her playmaking's allure. The response will influence not only the Fever's future, but also the league's possible course. Because the most astute organizations do not oppose change when a generational talent emerges and starts to reshape the sport. While everyone else is still attempting to comprehend what just happened, they embrace it, magnify it, and create an empire around it.